Good evening. I'd like to call the Hutchinson City Council meeting to order on January 20th, 2026. Mary, call roll.
Truen.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss.
Here.
Fast.
Here.
Magers.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
We have Pastor Tanya Winger from the First Mennonite Church to give us the prayer tonight.
Please join me in prayer. Gracious God, bless our cities. Give us grace to join in creating cities where neighborhoods remain vibrant and whole, where all people find support and care and community, and where arts and culture and sports flourish. Make the diverse fabric of this city a delight to all of us who live here, to all who visit here, and a strong bond uniting all of us around common goals for the good of all. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 4, proclamations. There are none. Item number 5, petitions, remonstrances, and oral communications from the audience.
This is the part of the agenda where we hear oral communications from the audience. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes and to items not on the agenda. Audience members may address the items on the agenda when the item is discussed by City Council. So at this time, if there's anybody who'd like to come and speak in public comment, you can come to the podium and state your name and address. All right. I guess if we have nobody, then we can move on to the next item.
Item number 6, consent agenda.
Has everyone had a chance to look through the
Yeah.
agenda? Questions, comments?
I have one question about the Planning Commission appointment. Elaine Carter, this is her second 3-year term, and is this her final? Are they term limited?
Yes, they're eligible to serve two consecutive full terms, so this will be her final term.
Okay. Thank you. No, as always, I appreciate people who step up to volunteer on these boards. It takes a great deal of time.
I move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Truen.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes. Next item.
Item number 7, public hearing and ordinance approving the Hutchinson Star Bond project.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Truen.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. Tonight, you are considering an ordinance to approve the Hutchinson Star Bond project plan. This is a required legal step under state law. It does not approve bonds tonight. It does not commit the city to spend any money. What it does is move the project from concept into the next phase allowed under the Kansas Star Bond Act. Star Bonds stands for sales tax and revenue bonds. They are a state-authorized tool used to finance major tourism and destination projects. The key is pretty simple. New sales tax generated inside a defined project area can be used to pay for public improvements tied to that project. If the project does not generate sales tax, then the bonds do not get paid. However, they're not backed by property taxes and not backed by the city's general fund. Kansas requires several checkpoints before a city can use star bonds, and tonight is one of those checkpoints. We're not at the beginning of this process, and we're not at the end. So far, the city has created the Star Bond Project District in 2024, so that was thanks to council approval. In September 2024, you designated that district. Then the Kansas Department of Commerce reviewed that area and determined it qualifies under state law. They issued a feasibility study that was completed and reviewed. This allowed us then to come to the Planning Commission and review the project plan and find it consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and other strategic plans that the city has. And so then we send notices to the public, and then tonight we're holding that public hearing. After the closing of the public hearing, you'll decide on approval of the project plan. The project plan is a framework document. It defines the project area, the types of development allowed, the general scope of improvements, how star bonds could be used if used later. However, it does not approve a specific bond amount. It does not approve construction contracts. It does not issue debt. It does not lock the city into financing. Think of this as approving the rule block, but not starting the game yet. What council is approving tonight with this ordinance is first, the city meets the legal requirements under Star Bond Act to adopt the project plan. Second, the city intends to allow this project to continue through the next required steps. And third, the city preserves its ability to consider Star Bond financing in the future, subject to additional council approvals. If council approves the ordinance tonight, the next steps include finalizing the development agreement, continued coordination with the Kansas Department of Commerce, refining the project phasings and financial details, and returning to council with future decisions, including any bond issuance. For these three projects, what we are considering under this star bonds are improvements at the Cosmosphere, so that's our major tourist destination, improvements to Memorial Hall in downtown, and improvements to the landmark apartments, really the commercial portion of the landmark building on 5th and Main, as well as, per the request of the Lieutenant Governor, improvements or additions that help Hutchinson embrace its identity around space tourism. And so that was one of the requests. There's $1 million for that project. We've talked about that project in the past, so I'm not going to go in a lot of detail into what it all entails. We do have the developers, two of the developers here, as well as Justin Combs from the city as far as Memorial Hall improvements. And then we have our bond counsel. If you have questions that go beyond my limited knowledge, the bond counsel can answer those questions too. And if all else fail, it'll just go to Paul Brown, and he'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Council have any questions?
So you said that, I just want to get some clarity on something that you said. It's not backed by property taxes, and it's not backed by the general fund. So what is the mechanism, like the safety or control mechanism that ensures the bond?
Yeah, I'll let our bond counsel address that question.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dominic Eck with Gilmore and Bell. So really the safeguard here is the underwriting process. So what happens following a project plan approval is an underwriter is engaged, and that firm is going to put together a revenue study, and they're going to make their projections. They're going to work with a third-party provider to do that, and they're going to size a bond issue that's appropriate to what they feel the district will generate and pay back over time. And so there's a lot of due diligence that they'll do for that process, and that's their job, and what they do every day is selling bonds. So they have a lot of customers that they work with, and so they're not going to have any interest in going and selling a higher amount that then can be reasonably returned through incremental sales. And so it's really that process that gets you to a right sizing of a bond issue. But yes, generally, the star bonds there's not a property tax pledge or anything of that nature behind them.
So if we're trying to kind of put this in terms that normal people use every day who aren't attorneys, bond attorneys specifically, essentially the revenue study that we have already completed, I think it's called revenue study, feasibility study, that we've already completed is kind of like having your home assessed or appraised, and this would be the actual underwriting that you go through during the loan process, right?
Yeah, so they're kind of two separate tracks. So that what's been done already is the statutory process to help the state and the city and the project partners feel like, hey, is this something worth our time to consider? Is this something we should continue to explore? And once you do that, and we get through this project plan creation, project plan approval, and then you bring in the underwriting firms, and they're going to do a little bit deeper dive, right? They're gonna have to put together a study that they can go sell bonds on and sell them to their customers at a rate that again, that will pay back. and meet the project needs. So there's still, as Dave mentioned, there's still a ways to go, a few more steps to be taken. But this is kind of step 2 of the larger 3-step process of a STAR bond. We had district creation, which you mentioned was completed in 24, project plan approval, and then you come to your bond issuance would be the next step.
And so if the revenue study and the feasibility study are apart in numbers, how is that made whole, or how is that made right?
So it'd be negotiation amongst the project partners as far as, what is the bond issuance anticipated to generate in terms of a project fund, and then how is that, haircut for each party if necessary. And then there's also would be an ability to have, kind of on the backside, if it overperforms, right? They want to be conservative, so they want to sell bonds at a level that would be paid back. So hopefully if they would be paid back, then maybe on the back end, there'd be ability to capture some of that as well, just depending, we can't know that now, but as time goes on, that's what we would set up through that development agreement process that Dave mentioned as well. So that's part of that kind of next step is get that underwriting study going. Let's get a little bit better, a little sharper pencil on what we think this will generate from a proceeds perspective, and then see how we're going to divvy that up between the several project partners on this one.
So at the end of the process, when the STAR bond, let's say that the revenue study and the feasibility study are in line and they're the same number approximately, and there's no haircut given, and then we're moving forward. Essentially at that point, it's safe to say that this project has been completely and fully vetted by the Department of Commerce, by the city, by our legal staff, by your legal staff, by the bond underwriters, and by, 6 different layers of bureaucracy, if you will, to where we know that we have a solid study. Give or take, there's always a wrench that could be thrown into it, knock on wood. But we know that we have a solid plan at that point. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, there are several guardrails that have to be met along the way, and by the time you go to actually sell the bonds, get the money in the bank, all those have to be overcome.
Thank you. I don't have any additional questions.
Anybody else from council have comments, questions? Okay, I'd like to open up to the public. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can come to the podium, name and address. You guys are an easy crowd tonight.
I usually don't like to speak, but yes, I do. My understanding that at one point Enrico said that we were going to use the sales tax to help out to alleviate the increase in wastewater. I don't know if I remember that correctly, Enrico, or not. But it was mentioned that we would use the sales tax as a way to help alleviate our water bills. I can't remember when that was said, maybe 3-4 months ago or whatever.
I can respond to that. That is a different conversation than this.
Okay.
This is paid for with incremental tax increase that the state will give back, the increased sales tax that the state will have because of these new improvements to these 3 projects.
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
That's the only question I had, because I sort of remembered we were talking about the wastewater at one time.
Yeah, a stormwater utility fee would go away with the
Yeah.
sales tax. That really has nothing to do with this.
Okay, thank you,
You
Greg.
bet, Duke.
Thank you.
But that's a good question. I feel like there's a lot of moving parts right now that people are confusing the sales tax vote on March 3rd with the STAR bond proposition, with how are we funding the wastewater treatment facility improvements and repairs. So Duke, you're not without fault here. Like there's been a lot going on that it couldn't be muddier, honestly. We just happen to get paid the big bucks to keep our thumb on it, so.
Council, I think it's always helpful to have an explanation because, yeah, immediately when you hear sales tax revenue bonds, what people think is that we are increasing the sales tax percentage to pay for these improvements. And that is not at all what happens with STAR bonds. The best way I can describe it, because the technical language is we're using the incremental tax to pay for these improvements. What does increment mean? Let's say I own a piece of land and council defines that as a district. That piece of land is empty, so in theory, it produces $0 in sales tax right now. If I make improvements to it, let's say I bring a second Cosmosphere to it, and it does really well, we have 200,000 annual visitors, and the sales tax increases then to $3 million annually. That difference is what would help pay for these improvements. So now we're producing more sales tax revenue, not an additional tax, but just more revenue simply because we made some improvements. That's what helps pay for the public improvements and the improvements of the Cosmosphere and the landmark. I hope that's usually how I best understand it, and usually makes sense to me.
Yeah, thanks for that explanation.
And it's really the same tool as CIDs or TIFs or RHID or any of these other programs. Or at least I draw a lot of similarities between them.
Go ahead.
Jesse Juma. I just have a question. So can anybody give us an example of were the STAR bond projects either here or anywhere, or just give an example of what they've been used for already?
Well, the first thing I can think of is Stratica. We put an elevator in there and the Star Bond District was created, and those bonds, and I don't know, I don't have all the history of how much of a project that was, but they were paid off significantly earlier because that project was so successful, which the state of Kansas is excited about our project because of the success we've had in the past.
We might have a nice lady on the
Yeah.
front that could maybe explain that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rachel Woods. I'm the director at Stratica. We actually have several of our friendly faces from the staff here, and we're all excited to hear about all the expansion and things that are happening here in Hutchinson. As you mentioned, Stratica was a part of one of the most successful STAR bonds, actually in Kansas, and we had a STAR bond of, I believe, $10 million, and we actually paid it off early. Without that STAR bond, Stratica probably would never have come to fruition. So I think it's an amazing thing that they have here in Kansas, and I am excited and optimistic to hopefully be a part of further expansion and partnerships with the city as well. Okay.
Thank you.
And looking out across the state, so I read an article that the Department of Commerce wasn't able to provide like a comprehensive list of everywhere that had been issued a STAR bond, and they didn't have a tracking of exact dollars and success rates and what have you. But we don't have to travel far to find successful STAR bonds. Goddard, theirs was not too long ago, 150-room Class A hotel with conference facility, Olympic quality swimming complex, baseball, softball fields, retail, commerce, dining. Salina has one that's fairly new, that I believe passed. That was for a mall. They exist all over the state, and they're essentially, they create entertainment districts and places of tourism that people want to travel to, whether from within the state or from across state lines. Did that answer your question, Jesse?
Yeah, and now that I think about it, since you brought that up, I think, was the bowling alley the same bowling alley that we have here. What's that called?
The alley?
Yeah, the alley. I think they use star bonds to.
I think they were a TIF. Were they a TIF or a
I
CAD?
don't remember.
It was not a star bond.
Okay. But anyway, I know there are some places in Salina too
Yeah,
that use
yeah.
star bonds.
And Wichita has one at least. Working on one. Okay.
In Manhattan, they've had a very successful star bond as well.
Yeah, and Salina's field house, like there's a lot of.
Yeah, Salina has a huge downtown
Yeah.
Yep.
Star Bond. There's 2 in Wichita, working on a third one. Salina's working on a second one. There's the one in Manhattan. There is the Kansas Speedway, was done with a Star Bond. There's a racetrack in Topeka that was done with a Star Bond. Dominic has experience with Star Bonds all over the state, so if you want specific about those, he might be willing to share some of those.
I think that Stratica's was the first successful star bond, and especially with how early it was paid off, I think 2 or 3 years early. And it may have been the first bifurcated star bond in the state. And so I think we have a history here locally of pulling off successful large projects. That is a testament to the Hutchinson as a community, but also the things that we want to place value in.
And I think when I think of all of these locations that we've talked about, they're all huge, amazing facilities that people travel from all over to go see. I mean, Stratica definitely being one of them, Cosmosphere being one of them. So I'm super excited about this star bond. I think has a lot of really awesome pieces to it.
Just a little history. It's taken 2 years to get to this point, and this is a big hurdle, like you said, step 2 out of 3. You talked, bond counsel, about being sure that we're able to sell those bonds and that they're able to pay them back. There's already been many calculators hard at work to make sure that this all makes sense. And I look at it as like we're getting state tax money. The majority of this is state tax money coming back to our city. It ensures that we get that portion of that state sales tax back in our city for projects that we want in our city.
Anything else?
I have one final point. I just was trying to check my email one last time. I'm speaking to the confusion that I think surrounds the topic and the complexity of the issues that we're diving into in the past couple months and the upcoming months. I have received 0 emails against this, 0 phone calls, 0 text messages, 0 Facebook messages, 0 pigeons with carrier pigeons. So I have no reason to believe that that there's any reason not to move forward with this. And I just wanted to make that very clear, because there are people who complain on the internet, on Facebook, about, well, literally everything. But this was a topic today, and absolutely none of them took it upon themselves to reach out to me, and I would imagine everybody else sitting up here also is in the same boat.
You want my editorial comment?
Yeah.
I look at Facebook. I take no stock in what people say on Facebook. 0. I have a public phone number. I have an email, and you can show up every other Tuesday evening at 5:30. If you want to speak to me, I'm going to listen, and we're going to find some common ground. And I do speak to a lot of people, and we disagree on things, but we can usually find some common ground. So, you can complain all day long behind this keyboard. Talk to us. There's 5 of us up here that'll listen, and there's a whole staff of 420 people here at the city that you can contact. There's my editorial comment.
Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
I'm kind of the same way, Greg. So I seen some of the same stuff on Facebook today, people against it. So I've been searching pros and cons, and I mean, from what I can see, I think it's all pro. I mean, yes, there's some times it could fail, but Stratic is a prime example how it's positive. And again, like Stacy said, I haven't had anybody reach out to me, and, you know, I'm asking down the road, if anybody has questions or concerns, please always reach out to me, because I'm the new guy up here, and I'm trying to sort through all this. And I do have one question, Dave. So basically what we're doing is we're voting to get this started, get the project going, so that it can go on to the investors and all that. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
Yeah, it's giving staff essentially authority to move forward with a development agreement, to engage with the underwriters, to eventually issue those bonds. So yeah, it's what started the project was the designation of a star bond district. So that happened in 2024. Really, this is like the middle of the process to help just move towards that next step.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when they actually get all the bonds ready, will we have a final vote on that, or does that just go through?
Yeah, so you'll have a vote for the development agreement, and then I can have Dominic kind of explain the process for the bond underwriter as well.
Yeah, great question. So we'll be back essentially 2 more times after this. One would be for what we call a sale resolution, which means go forward, get all those documents ready, get everything, the offering document prepared to sell those bonds, and go price the bonds. And then we come back after pricing of the bonds and say, here's the final terms, here's what they were able to market them at, here's the final interest rates and amounts, and then you would have that approval as well.
How much longer does that process take from now till then?
That's the $1 million
yeah,
question.
that's a great question. That's a great question.
I hope 2 months.
Yeah, so the underwriting firm really will drive that, and that'll be driven further by whoever they contract with for that revenue study. And so there are a few variables at play there, and then also the timing of cash needs for the 3 components of the project. And so it's getting all the right people in the room and trying to line up all the calendars and see where it makes sense. But yeah, it'll be another couple months.
Okay.
I have a question for you, sir. So there's a lot of talk coming out of Topeka about gutting the star bond and the authority that gives municipalities to go after star bonds. If that were to happen during this legislative session, where would that leave this star bond as it's in the middle of?
Yeah, very good question. So currently the Star Bond Act expires at the end of June of this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's faced various expiration deadlines in the past that have always been, renewed in some form or fashion. If it were not renewed, by having our Star Bond project plan approved, certainly we have full authority to act throughout June of this year, right? And can go move about the cabin just under the current statutory regime. If they, renew it and try to have some sort of retroactive application, we would just have to see what that legislation said and how it looked. We've worked on some in the past where there was kind of an impending deadline, and we went ahead and had a star bond issuance, kind of up right until that deadline, and never had any difficulties with that. Once the star bonds are issued, that authority is there to continue to collect, segregate those taxes for repayment. And so I don't foresee that there should be, a large issue that we wouldn't be able to handle, because we do have, until at least the end of June, probably longer, but who knows. And if there is some sort of legislation that comes down, we track that pretty closely, and so we would be talking with Enrico and Dave and the team to make sure we had a good plan in place.
Did your firm engage with a lobbyist?
We do not engage with lobbyists. No.
And I might mention we have 2 years to plan to spend that money. The money doesn't have to be spent in 2 years. We have to have signed contracts within 2 years.
Yes,
Bonds
there's a yes.
No, not bonds sold,
Oh.
work contracts.
Yeah, there are a few different, there's some federal tax laws that come into play and things of that nature. But absolutely right. There's time after you sell the bonds. You don't have to go spend the money the next day. You have time to properly plan out your project and your cash flows.
So essentially, if the STAR bond legislation is not renewed or extended past this summer, we would need to have bonds sold by June 30.
There's probably some more legal analysis there that we would get into and make sure that we were, depending on nuance to that question.
Okay.
But, worst case scenario, we'd sell bonds by June 30th so that they were already in place. I don't foresee that to be an issue, and I think that there's going to be good ways to plan around that from a strategy perspective to make sure that we're in good shape.
Thank you.
And I've asked that question to others, Stacy, and I was told that it's, since this was approved and the feasibility study's done, that the legislature can't take it away from us. But there's a whole lot of nuances probably
There's just
to that
nuance,
answer.
yeah, but yeah.
But that's a fair question. I asked the same thing.
I think our own legislator is going to try to take this away from us.
Okay, I got some questions. I sit here and be quiet and I think about all this stuff in my head. I'm not a financial officer. I'm just a working little guy that goes to work every day. The bonds, say for instance on Stratica or whatever we're gonna build, say $6 million to build what we're gonna do. So now we sell those bonds, am I right? The bonds gotta be sold. Maybe we sell 2 bonds at $3 million a piece. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to get this straight in my head. Say we we go out to investors who buy these bonds, correct? And they buy the bonds, and then the bonds, after somebody buys the bonds, the investor itself, do they make the money off the bonds, off the interest off the bonds? How do they make their money back?
The bond purchasers?
Yes.
So what would happen is these sales taxes that are generated, the increment that Dave discussed, when that's generated, the Department of Revenue segregates that into we call it a bucket, the increment bucket, right? And they'll send that over to a bond trustee who will utilize that to make payment to the bondholders.
Okay.
First, they'll get paid the interest component on that, and then as more and more comes in, then they'll start chipping away at the principal amount of that.
I got
so
you.
just as any other loan is repaid, it'll have a principal component and an interest component. And all that incremental sales tax that's generated will go towards paying that down.
So, like Stratica, they're the ones that the bonds was for when we had Stratica. So the Stratica, when you go in there and buy a ticket from Stratica, as part of that, what they sold that ticket for, do they have a separation that this is, the ticket's $3. $1.50 goes to the sales tax for us, and then $1.50 goes to the bonds. Is that pulled out of the money separate?
No, so there is no additional cost imposed, right? You would pay the same amount of ticket whether it's in a STAR bond district or not. And all those calculations as to what gets segregated, what's increment and what's base, is all done at the Department of Revenue level. So the Department of Revenue will come in and say, hey, we have reached our base for this year, so now anything we collect goes to increment, which goes to the bondholders. Or we have not reached the base this year, so nothing yet is ready to go to bondholders. Instead, it needs to go to the taxing jurisdictions as it has in the past. But there's no additional tax imposed. It's a tax redirection, not a tax addition.
So Steve, another way to illustrate the point, and it's very similar to what Dave described. But let's just say the project naturally, before any enhancements were made, before you fixed it up, say that generated a baseline of $5 million in sales tax revenue. With the STAR bond project and the enhancements that were made, instead of the base of $5 million, it becomes $7 million. That additional $2 million that was generated goes towards paying off the STAR bond. So there's nothing new created, but rather than it is the local economy has been injected with just new projects, new vitality, but there's nothing new, no new sales tax or anything like that. It's just the increment above that base.
Well, that's why I ask these questions, because I know a lot of people out there just like me are sitting here and going, do I agree with this? I want to fully understand. You helped me a lot right now already.
That's how I learned it.
Okay, on the bond issue.
Great
Because
questions.
we sell it to the public that the taxpayer's not going to pay for this. It comes out of the sales of whatever we're helping. Am I, follow me?
Yeah, there are no additional taxes that are imposed.
Okay.
That is correct. They will pay the same rate whether it is in a star bond district or not in a star bond district. And then at the Department of Revenue level, that's where the increment calculation is made, and that's where the bondholder money is segregated.
Okay, well, that helped me a lot. I mean, I'm supposed to represent the people. I got to understand it before I can represent the people. And I know there's a lot of people out there don't understand how it works either. So I have to be enough courage to sit up there and say I don't understand it. That's why I got to ask questions.
Absolutely, great questions.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That helped me a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I can back it now. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else, those are great questions to get to more clarity so everybody understands exactly what we're trying to accomplish here. Because I know there are some things with the sales tax and the stormwater and all that, so we just want to make sure that everybody understands exactly what we're trying to do. So if there's nothing else, I'm looking for a motion.
I move to close public hearing.
I'll second.
Truin,
Yes.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Bass,
Yes.
Magers.
Yes. Next item.
Item number 9, new business, there's none. Item number 10.
Nope, number 8.
Item number 8. 8A.
I'm sorry. Item number 8, ordinances and resolutions. Consider an ordinance adopting the Hutchinson Star Bond Project Plan and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll move to approve an ordinance adopting the Hutchinson Star Bond Project Plan and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Truin,
Yes.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Bass,
Yes.
Magers.
Yes. Next item.
Item number 9, new business, there is none. Item number 10, report of city officials. Council,
We'll start with Mr. Garza again. You're so easy to pick on.
No, I know. You know, this bond issue sort of started to come up. I do believe, now, tell me if I'm wrong, and then they say that in the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to use star bonds to build their stadium. Am I wrong or right?
Correct.
Partly, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's great. And also, in my neighborhood, everybody, a couple of weeks back, I had a lady come up, my neighbor, who was my cousin, started talking about the water problems they had over there. Well, you know, the water guys came out there and replaced a lot of water lines and some valves and stuff. And I walked around my neighborhood and asked everybody how they did. And everybody except for maybe one neighbor told me they did a great job. I wanted to make sure you tell the water department, the attendants in my neighborhood where I live told me they did a great job. A little problem with the water when it came on, but they say it was dirty water, but we know dirt gets in there when we replace the lines. And they all said they did a great job. So make sure you tell the water department that my neighborhood was happy.
I'll pass that along.
Okay. Also, if you can't tell, the city's moving. The city is moving. We're moving stuff, we're getting along. We need you citizens to back us and tell us that we're doing a good job. I mean, we're not up here for nothing. We're up here to make the city go. And I guarantee you, within 5 years, you're going to see a different city. You don't understand all the stuff we have that we know in the back of our minds that we can't tell you what's going on. But here, I'm the oldest council member here, just age 2, but also the one sitting here the longest, that the city is changing, and we're going to change it. So you got to help us, the city commissioners. Tell us if you don't like something, tell us about it. I don't mind hearing about it, but we got to know what you think. And I appreciate everybody coming out here, man. Come out here and listen to what's going on. If you want to know something, there's 2 ways. Come to the city council meeting or come to my meeting that I have. My meeting will tell you everything that's going on in the city. So I'm telling you right now that the city's moving, and you're going to see a lot of improvements in Hutch. We got jobs are going to be coming. We have areas coming with jobs. Everything you asked us to do, we're doing. We improved the streets, but that costs money. And so us 5 people have a lot of responsibility on our backs. And just so you know that, these commissioners go home and think about, we read papers, we read all these documents. We're going to have a budget hearing, right? discussion, and it's not fun being a commissioner up here, especially when people want to, they're not jumping on our backs. There are a lot of times that people don't understand what's going on. I didn't really understand the bond issue. I was going back and forth, listening to everybody. Now I do. Now I understand what's going on. It's a great thing. So it's a great place to live in Hutchinson, Kansas, and you're going to see Hutchinson change. So we need your backing. I love living in Hutch. You guys love being in Hutch. Come to the meetings. Get involved. Get involved. See what's going on. So we have a great city manager. We have a great city council people. So you have to get along. That's one thing about me. I'm not bashful. If I don't understand something, I don't care if you think I'm dumb. But I'm being dumb. I'm answering questions that you want to ask. You want to ask. I'll tell you what, when there's a question going on, should I ask it? Should I not ask it? No, hell yes, I should ask it, because I'm representing you guys. So, that being said, Hutchinson's going somewhere. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Stacy?
Yes. I was excited to see a few potholes that I reported that were patched. I don't know anybody who gets really excited about potholes, but I do. I would assume that these are cold asphalt, and they'll be dug up if needed once we start making asphalt. I reported a couple issues at Rice Park, some piles of dirt and ruts in the trail. The majority of my questions I got answered talking to staff before the meeting. But as I was reading the C-Click Fix reports, I noticed that one of them mentioned parking in front of Salt City Brewery. So it's actually perfect that you're here, sir. I will say that it seems like there's always large trucks parked in front of there, and I don't know what the guidance is on when we should have like a compact only, but it seems like with the large trucks parking directly in front of the entrance, cars are either hitting their brakes because there's cars right next to them, or they're swerving into the other lane, and it's an issue. Could you come up here for a second, Steve? Would that be something that you would entertain, limiting that parking right in front of your entry to?
I guess at the moment, I don't know enough about it to even comment.
Okay.
I don't know why we would object to anything like that if it's a public safety thing or something
Okay.
like that. We've got parking in
You've got the back.
Right, we've
Yeah.
got a parking lot available. We maybe could do a better job of directing people to the back. We've talked about doing some signage back there. Maybe we need to get that done, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I know of one I'm not saying it's the only one. I know of one accident where an
Yeah.
ABC agent actually was backing out of the brewery and got hit by somebody. So that's the only one I'm aware of, but
Okay.
there may be others.
okay. Well, we'll be in touch to talk about how we can just make sure it's smoother and make sure people feel safe pulling around there. Another question that I got that I saw was about the city impound lot. I know we've talked about it over the past couple of years. I'm getting that lot prepared for sale. And I know as we transition into a new city attorney, I just want to make sure that either there's explicit instructions on how to go about that sale, or is that a project that you intend to wrap up before you get out of here? Okay. Okay. So it'll be on the market before. Okay. Cool. Well, that'll be, you heard it here, folks. And then there's another city property out on East 4th.
West,
West 4th, across from Silas.
behind Silas along
Behind
our
Silas.
levee.
That we,
Levy system.
Part of our levee system that is
The-
hunting ground.
I won't comment on that one publicly, folks.
okay. Well, we can start an email thread about that one. And I won't steal anybody's thunder about the big speech tomorrow, so that's all I had.
All right, Darren.
Well, still trying to get my feet wet. Attended a couple meetings with Enrico last week at Public Works and Department Head, and got to meet a lot of people and learned a lot. And just kind of want to, what Mr. Garza said, I just encourage anybody, especially if you're watching on YouTube, come to the meetings, or if you have questions, please ask. And, you know, I'm good with guidance on how the community wants us to rule up here. And if there's issues, let us know your opinion and go from there. So that's about it.
Thank you. Greg?
We had a Woody Seat progress meeting the other day, last Tuesday to be exact. It wasn't heavily attended, but we did talk through some things. The east-westbound of Avenue A and the traffic signals will be turned on probably Monday, a week ahead of schedule or thereabouts. That should help with traffic a little bit. Just making progress there. I did notice that the street department was out pre-treating our streets. Thank you for that. I'm sure they're geared up for the snow that we may or may not have. And anyway, that's exciting to know that we have people taking care of those things. I was reading the department had weekly reports. HPD usually weekly has somebody writing in complimenting the department for something they did. And thank you for that. You know, I'm sure that that officer was just doing his job and probably doing what he was supposed to do, but people notice when we're doing what we're supposed to do. So anyway, thanks for that. Stacy mentioned this, but we have the State of the City address tomorrow at 7:45 a.m. at the 1861 Club. The Chamber hosts that once a year. Stacy mischaracterized it a little bit. It will not be a speech. It'll be a sit-down, back and forth with Enrico and I about what's going on in the city. Hopefully it'll be a relaxed time, and maybe you could learn more about what's going on at the city. And again, thanks staff for all you do. That's all I got.
All right, thanks. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I like seeing a full crowd, so it's good to see that. A couple of us went out last week with David Foster to tour the new YMCA building, which we've been seeing that building go up for a long time, and it's really exciting what is happening in that building. I'm really excited. The community should be excited for it as well. When that place gets opened, I think it's going to bring a lot to our community, for our kids, families, youth. It's just, we talked about so many things out there that are just exciting for what's going to happen with that property. So I'm really excited for that to open up. Next thing I wanted to kind of echo a little bit on the sales tax and stormwater runoff fee conversation. I do the same thing, kind of look on Facebook and see people. So I reached out to numerous people today, give them my phone number to call me, contact me, and like we've said, our number's on the website. If you have any questions, comments, don't hesitate to call, because we'd rather get you the correct information, so that you make sure that, you know, we're trying to pass a sales tax. We're not trying to raise taxes. We're trying to get the tax so we can actually trade it out for the stormwater fee, so that we can use that money for where we really need to use it for the fixing the stuff above infrastructure, so we can fix the street as well as the infrastructure and not be so limited to it. So it's going to be a benefit too, because all of that money that currently we pay with the stormwater fee that everyone pays, we can now take, if we raise the sales tax, eliminate the stormwater runoff fee, then we can have anybody coming to Hutchinson, whether they're going to Stradica or the grocery store or the gas station, whatever they're paying for sales tax, that's going to go towards all that need we need for our infrastructure. So if anyone has any questions, I just don't want any miscommunication of people not knowing that, you know, what we're trying to do, because we're up here trying to do great things for our city. We're not trying to be up here misleading people, misinformation. We're trying to be very transparent. So again, all of our numbers, email addresses are on the website. Do not hesitate to contact us.
Hey, Scott. If I get a call, I'm going to be very kind and nice. I probably got a little excited with my comments about Facebook, but call me. We're going to find common ground. We're going to come to some kind of understanding, I promise. Sorry.
Well, you know what, it's great you get excited for that, though. I mean,
Well, it's just
I
like,
mean-
I'm not gonna legislate based on Facebook or whatever.
No,
you
but
wanna call
it just concerns me sometimes when I see that.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, it's misinformation that I'm like, if they would contact us, we can have a conversation, and maybe they're not gonna agree with us 100% of the time,
maybe.
but we can have a conversation, so.
I'm showing my age. That's what I'm doing, so.
And then, in regards to your comment on the worm farm, Stacy.
Yeah.
Last council meeting, I have talked to Dan, and there'll be some more information coming for that, on progress for that building and property, so. I think that's all I have. Enrico?
Just a few items worth mentioning. One, the comment made on assistance with the wastewater bills. The Utility Billing Assistance Program has launched, so that is up and running. So I do want that to be known. And then in talking with the mayor and several department heads for the budget study session, the preference was to have it in this room because there's more space. And so not everyone, depending on how many people want to go into that room, could be left out because not everyone can fit in there. So for the budget study session, it seemed easiest to just have it in here. So that's what we'll do.
That all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay, so, I guess I'm looking for.
I want to mention one thing. 806 North Plum, I have driven by a bunch of times in the past 2 weeks. It is gone today at 5 o'clock. It's not there. And I just want to give kudos to staff for all of the hard work that I know we've ran them through the ringer on all the hearings and compliance stuff over the past year, and it's paying off. I appreciate it.
So I'm going to look for a motion for adjournment, but we are going to have a study session, 5 minutes, starting what, 6:30, or you?
Sure.
Start at 6:30 after this, so you're more than welcome to stay and listen to our budget session, so I'm just looking for a
Move
motion
to adjourn.
Second.
Truen?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
Magers?
Yes.